been too much trouble here. Did you know that a young boy drowned the year before those two others were killed? The counselors weren't paying any attention. They were making love while that young boy drowned. His name was Jason.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be top 20 modern horror movies, and that counts from the year 2000 to now. A lot of people have been doing this video. I think it's a really good idea because I think from the 2000s to now has been the best decade in horror probably since the 80s. So yeah, we'll pretty much get right into it. At number 20, The Collector. I'm sure most people have seen this. Yeah, great movie where the guy tries to break into a house, but somebody else is already there and set up a lot of traps. Pretty gory, a lot of violence. Yeah, super fun, and it has a good sequel too. 19, we have The Descent. Awesome movie. A lot of claustrophobia. Yeah, set in the underground tunnels and stuff. These girls go and climb and explore for like a sport or a hobby, and they come across these blind, like sort of evil, I don't even know what you call them, these monsters really. Very gory. Also has a pretty decent sequel. And by the way guys, these are just my favorites. There is a few big hitters that aren't on my list. Number 18, we have the original Saw. I don't have an individual copy, so I just got this collection. Yeah, the individual Saw was pretty groundbreaking at the time. Low budget film that got a lot of attention, pretty much set in one room the whole movie. And yeah, with a great twist ending as well. 17, The Strangers. Yeah, this sort of came out of nowhere and everyone was talking about this when it came out. Awesome home invasion film. That scene on the front cover there is super creepy when that happens. I like that you don't get any sort of backstory on the strangers, the three people that are stalking this couple. I think it makes it more creepier. Number 16 is one that I've only watched recently, but Incident in a Ghostland. This movie was fantastic. I've watched it twice since I've had it. And it's one of those movies that definitely benefit from a rewatch. Yeah, can't say enough good things about it. Maybe in the future this will climb like higher or lower on the list. But yeah, as of now, it sits at number 16. Number 15 is one that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This movie has some extremely creepy atmosphere set in the morgue. Yeah, just like at times you just get really freaked out. Like, I don't know, there's just something about it, like the eeriness. And then as the movie goes on, you find out what's actually happening. Number 14, 28 Weeks Later. I do prefer this over 28 Days. I'm not sure why. It probably just ramps up the action and stuff like that. The scene where the guy leaves his family in the house and he's like running along the field and that music's playing and you can see the emotion on his face, but he's got a whole horde of infected chasing him and he hops in the boat and just gets away. That scene is awesome. It always sticks with me. And yeah, can't wait for the sequel that they're apparently doing for that. Number 13, one of my favorite remakes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think this does the original a lot of good justice. Yeah, very gory. Has that real sort of grittiness to it as well. But yeah, not obviously not as much as the original, but still such a fun remake, one of the better remakes. Number 12, The Conjuring. Probably the best haunted house modern horror film, I think. This and the second one. This one probably just beats it out though. Yeah, super creepy. There's moments in this where you're sort of on edge. It doesn't overdo it with the jump scares. It has a couple, but it's sort of not like the later movies in the Conjuring franchise. Number 11, I actually don't own a copy of. I have one coming in the mail. When I was doing this list, I thought I had a copy, but obviously I didn't. And that is Let the Right One In. I'm not a big vampire film sort of guy. I don't really like vampire movies that much, but this one is awesome. Obviously talking about the original Let the Right One In, not the remake Let Me In, I think it's called. Yeah, the original one has such a sort of heartbreaking story, but it gets you really in depth with the characters, especially because they're just sort of children, or so it seems. But yeah, that's my number 11, Let the Right One In. So top 10 time. At number 10, we have Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. I've talked about this a couple of times here, but fun. If you're into slashers, this is such a fun sort of look into it. This guy sort of takes this little documentary camera crew behind the scenes on how he stalks his victims and that, and then there's sort of a twist at the end of why he's got this crew following him and that. I won't spoil it, but I'm sure most people have seen this. Number 9, we have an Australian film, Hounds of Love. Yeah, and they've seen this in the last month or so, and this was really good. Kidnapping and abuse of this girl and by this sadistic couple, and it was based on a true story that happened in Perth here in Australia. I encourage everyone to see this if you haven't. Number 8, I'm going to go with Curse of Chucky. It's the only way I've got the movie in this box set, so... But yeah, Curse of Chucky, I think, was an awesome way to reboot this franchise after the downfall that was Seed of Chucky. Curse just sort of brings it back to that real horror element that it's always had. It's always had comedy in that, obviously, but like the original Child's Play was all horror, and I think Curse of Chucky is basically all horror. There's a few one-liners in there and stuff, but yeah, I think Chucky really gets back to form in that movie, and yeah, really enjoy it. At number 7, we have Eden Lake. This movie's a pretty brutal watch. Some really sort of squirmish scenes in this. Yeah, you got a guy that gets box cutter shoved into his mouth and cuts up his tongue. You get people tied up with barbed wire. You get a guy getting set on fire alive. Just a brutal movie. One of those sort of bleak endings. I won't give it away, but I'm sure if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Number 6, we have American Psycho. What's really to say about this movie? You can pretty much pick it apart scene by scene. There's so many like perfect lines. The social commentary behind everything. How obsessive people are with trying to be better than somebody else. Yeah, I just can't get enough of this movie. Every time I watch it, you sort of pick up on different things. Yeah, American Psycho. Now, top 5. Yeah, I found it really hard. Not really hard, but once I had my list, it was sort of hard to rank a lot of them. But yeah, finally got through doing it. But number 5, we have Trick or Treat. This is pretty much a Halloween staple for me every year. I'll watch this, and it doesn't seem to get old. I love how it wraps all the stories up. Yeah, just a perfect anthology and great Halloween themed horror movie. Number 4, The Devil's Rejects. People may or may not like this movie, but I think it is fantastic. I think it's better than House of a Thousand Corpses and whatever. I know. A lot of people don't like Rob Zombie and his directing style and the characters he puts in his movies, but I know this movie's awesome, has a great soundtrack. You really get to learn more about the Firefly family. And yeah, I watch this movie quite a lot. Okay, top 3 time. Awesome movie here. Train to Busan. Great zombie film, Korean zombie film. Has a really great story about the relationship between a father and a daughter and how this sort of brings them together. Yeah, I won't spoil how it sort of ends if you haven't seen it, but if you're into zombie films, it is subtitled, but, you know, don't be lazy. Watch foreign films and read the subtitles, because a lot of the times they're a lot better than American movies and stuff that's not subtitled, I reckon. Number 2, we have the Maniac remake. I watched this the other night, and yeah, it definitely cemented itself in the number 2 spot. Awesome, like, practical effects as well, which is a big plus. Especially when you heard that Elijah Wood was going to be cast in this. It was pretty funny to think about that, but I think he does a brilliant job. And I also love the scene where he kills that girl in the car park. Pardon me. And then sort of you see his reflection in the car, and it's sort of the cover from the original movie. But yeah, I highly encourage anyone that hasn't seen this to give it a watch. And my number 1, most people might know it, but it's the Evil Dead remake. I didn't expect much from this when I first seen it, like at the theaters, but this blew me away. The practical effects, the amount of gore they used. I'm glad they sort of didn't do the whole Evil Dead 2 route where it was comedy. I'm glad they stuck to brutal horror. Yeah, the reason why they have to stay at the cabin because they're trying to get a heroin addict clean, so they don't really believe her when she's talking about a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I just love this movie to bits. So yeah, guys, that's my top 20 modern horror films. If you haven't done a list already, do one. I'd love to see people's list, even if you just leave it in the comments, or better still, do a video to it. But I think I'm pretty late to this one. I know a lot of my friends on here have already done a list, but yeah, if you haven't, I'd like to see it. Yeah, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.